Most financial advisors will tell you that you need somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million saved to retire at all comfortably. I want to show you today why that number for most Americans over 55, it's not just wrong, it's costing people years of their lives. There's a retirement asset that most Americans over 55 you already own right now that is worth somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 in real terms. Most people are using it incorrectly. Some people aren't using it at all. It's called Social Security. And by the end of this video, you're going to see your retirement completely differently than you do right now. Look, if looking at retirement like this is useful, subscribe so you won't miss the next quote-unquote expert assumption that we're going to end up pressure testing together. Now, stay with me through the math in the middle of this video. I know math can feel heavy. I'm going to make it as simple as I possibly can because the section at the end where we will actually run your numbers, that's where I think most people watching this video, you're going to have what I can only describe as a genuine moment of relief. Let's get into it. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you've done the math on your retirement savings, at least at some point. Maybe you have $200,000 saved, maybe $350,000 saved, maybe less than that. And every article you read, every advisor you've spoken to, every financial segment you've seen on television, it tells you what? That number isn't enough. I want to acknowledge something before we go any further. That feeling, that quiet panic about whether you've saved enough is one of the most common experiences among Americans between 55 and 65 right now. You're not alone in it. And more importantly, for many of you watching, that feeling is based on a calculation that is missing its absolute most important variable. I want to be honest with you about something. The financial advice industry has a structural reason to make you feel like you don't have enough. Because when you feel inadequate about your retirement, what happens? You hire an advisor. You buy their products. You stay inside of their system. I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't manage money. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. What I am, I'm someone who has spent a significant amount of time understanding the retirement math that most people in this industry would rather you didn't see laid out this plainly. Now, here are the three fears I hear most from people in the audience. One, I save too little and it's too late. I won't be able to fix it. Two, I don't understand Social Security well enough to know if I'm using it correctly. Three, I'm going to run out of money before I run out of time. By the end of this video, we're going to address all three of those head on directly, starting with the asset you already own. Most people think of Social Security as what? A monthly check? I want you to think of it as an asset because that's what it actually is. And understanding as an asset rather than a check will change how you think about your entire retirement. Look, here's what I mean. If you're going to receive, let's call it $1,500 a month from Social Security for 20 years, now that's a pretty conservative life expectancy assumption for someone who retires, let's call it at 65. That's $360,000 in total payments. $360,000. Most people with $360,000 sitting in what's called a 401k, they know exactly what they have. They check their balances. They worry about it. They talk to advisors about it. But they have no idea what their Social Security benefit is actually worth in the same terms. That ends today. I want you to look at this graphic for a moment. $1,500 a month times 12 months times 20 years of retirement. That's $360,000. Now, if you wait a few years to claim, let's say your benefit is closer to $2,000 a month, that same calculation, it gives you $480,000 in lifetime benefits. This is not a government handout. This is money you paid into over your entire working life. That money is yours. And the decision of when to claim it and how to claim it is one of the most consequential financial decisions you're going to ever make. The first thing I want you to do tonight, if you haven't already done this, is go to ssa.gov and create a My Social Security account. It'll take you maybe 10 minutes. You'll need your Social Security number and a few pieces of personal information. What you're going to find there is your estimated monthly benefit at 3 different ages. 62, your full retirement age, which is probably 66 or 67, depending on when you were born, and age 70. Write those 3 numbers down. They are the foundation of everything we're going to talk about for the rest of this video. Now, let me show you what this looks like with a real example. I'm going to use a fictional person. Let's call her Maria. Maria is 61 years old. She worked for 35 years in healthcare administration. She earned a solid middle income salary for most of her career. She is not wealthy. She's not poor. She's most of America. Maria goes to ssa.gov and finds those 3 numbers we just talked about. At 62, $1,180 a month. At 67, now in her case, that was her full retirement age, $1,640 a month. At 70, $2,090 a month. 3 different claiming ages, 3 completely different retirements. And the decision of when to claim, it belongs entirely to Maria. No advisor required. And you don't need to buy any product. You don't need to have any minimum balance. Just a decision that most people make without fully understanding what they're choosing. Now, here's the retirement math that most financial content will never show you. Because when you see it laid out this way, simply, honestly, without any financial jargon, it makes retirement look a lot more achievable than the industry would like it to look. We're going to build what I call a retirement income stack, layer by layer. And we're going to do it right now. Layer 1, Social Security. Let's use a conservative benefit for a single person, $1,400 a month. Now that's below the average benefit for someone with a full working history, so we're trying to be really conservative. We're trying to be careful here. $1,400 a month. That's layer 1. Now layer 2, savings. Here's a number I want you to remember, 4%. The 4% rule says that a well-managed retirement account can sustain a withdrawal of 4% every year without running out of money over, let's call it, a 30-year retirement. It's the most widely accepted rule of thumb. All right, something to practice with in retirement planning today. 4% of $200,000 is what? $8,000 a year. Divide that by 12, and that's $667 every month. $200,000 in savings, $667 a month. That is layer 2. Now, layer 3, and this is the one most retirement plan leaves out entirely. Purposeful, part-time income. Look, not a full-time job. Not going back to a career that you're ready to leave. $400 a month. That's it. $400 a month is 15 hours a week at, let's even call it $7 an hour. Or maybe one consulting client or a skill that you've had for 30 years that someone will pay you for on a much more flexible schedule. We're going to come back to this idea in a future video because it wholly deserves its own full conversation. But for now, $400 a month. Layer 3. Let's add those up. $1,400 from Social Security, $667 from $200,000 in savings, $400 from part-time income. What is that? $2,467 a month. That is a retirement. And I want to be absolutely clear about what I just described. $200,000 in savings, that is not a wealthy person. That's not someone who maxed their 401k every year for 30 years. That's someone who did okay. They saved something, not everything, and they have a functional, real, livable retirement. Now, here's where it gets genuinely interesting because that Social Security number, that $1,400, it's not fixed. It's just a lever. And most people pull it at the wrong time. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go back. Let's use Maria's numbers again. If Maria claims at 62, her benefit is $1,180 a month. If she waits, pushes it out until 67, for her full retirement age, it's $1,640 a month. Now, if she's able and she pushes it out some more, she waits until 70, $2,090 a month. The difference between claiming at 62 and claiming at 70 is $910 a month. $910 every single month for the rest of her life. Every year Maria waits between 62 and 70, her benefit grows by between 6 and 8%. There is zero guaranteed investment on the planet that returns 6 to 8% annually with zero risk. Social Security's delayed claiming credit is one of the most powerful financial tools available to absolutely any American. And most people, they cash it in early because nobody showed them this math. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. What if I die before break even? What if I need the money at 62? Those are completely fair questions, and I'm going to address both of them in just a few minutes. But let me give you the break-even number first, because it matters. If Maria claims at 62 versus waiting until 67, right, the break-even age is approximately 78 to 79, meaning if she lives past 79 waiting until 67 paid off financially. It was a good bet. The average 62-year-old American woman today lives approximately to 86. It depends what research you look at. The average man, 83. The math on waiting, it's better than most people realize. And if you're married, or if you were married for at least 10 years, there's an additional layer to this that most couples absolutely, completely miss. Spousal benefits and survivor benefits. The spousal benefit allows a lower earning spouse to claim up to 50% of the higher earner's benefit. In some cases, that's more than they would have received on their own record. But here's the one that really matters, that really so rarely comes up in conversation. Almost nobody talks about this. The survivor benefit. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse can step up to 100% of the higher earner's benefit. Again, depending upon the age that they take it. That means the decision that the higher earner makes about when to claim, that decision does not just affect them. It affects their spouse, and it affects their spouse for the rest of their life. For a married couple, the difference between an optimized Social Security claiming strategy and a default strategy can be $100,000 to $200,000 in lifetime benefits. $100,000 to $200,000. No advisor required. No product you're going to feel like you have to buy. Just a decision made with the right information. Now, before we talk about your personal numbers, I want to address the questions I know are in your head right now. Because the objections to this math, look, they're legitimate and they deserve honest answers. Objection 1. What about Social Security running out? You've probably seen the headlines. Social Security faces a funding shortfall around 2033, 2035 if Congress does absolutely nothing. And it could result in your benefit, your monthly benefit being reduced somewhere around 20 to 23%. Look, that's real. That's fact, that's actual. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. Here's the context the headlines, though, consistently leave out. Social Security has faced serious funding shortfalls before. This isn't news. And 1983 was the hardest time. And Congress acted. Now, why? Because cutting Social Security, if you're a politician, is political suicide. It is the most popular government program in American history. And it serves who? The most politically active voting demographic in this country. The most likely scenario is a combination of a modest tax adjustment and minor benefit changes for higher earners. A partial reduction for some recipients, it is possible, which is why building a 15 to 20% buffer into your planning is just plain smart. A complete elimination of Social Security, that's not a realistic scenario. Look, I did a video on different options Congress can use to deal with the Social Security shortfall. I'm going to link that video in the video description below. You can go check it out. Abandoning, right, getting rid of, ignoring Social Security from your retirement math because of headlines, fear-mongering, scare tactics, it's a mistake, and it's going to cost you real money. Objection 2. What if I genuinely need the money at 62? Look, this is completely legitimate, and my answer is, sometimes you do. If you have a health condition that significantly affects your life expectancy, claim early. The math changes completely If you're in financial distress and you need the income to survive, claim. Your immediate stability, it is so much more important than some theoretical optimization of Social Security in the future. If you simply cannot continue working and you have no other option, claim. There's no shame in that decision. Look, the goal of this video is not to tell you what to do. It is to make sure you understand what you're trading when you make that decision. An informed choice to claim early is a completely valid choice. An uninformed one is what I'm trying to prevent with this video. All right, objection 3. What if I don't have $200,000 saved? I want to run the numbers for you right now because this is important. This matters. Let's rebuild that retirement income stack with $100,000 in savings instead of $200,000. $100,000 at 4% is $4,000 a year, $333 a month. Add Social Security at 67, $1,640. Add $333 from savings we just talked about. That gives us $1,973 a month before any part-time income. Now, add $600 a month from part-time work. Let's call that 15 hours a week, and even just $10 an hour. One small consulting gig, perhaps. Maybe a skill you've had your entire career. $1,973 plus 600, $2,573 a month. When the savings number goes down, the part-time income, it goes up. Look, that's not a crisis. It's just a trade-off. And it's a manageable trade-off at that. Now, objection 4. This one almost sounds too simple. If this math worked, everyone would know it. Well, it is simple, and that's not the same as being wrong. The financial industry profits from complexity. When retirement planning feels complicated, what happens? People look for and pay for help. When it feels manageable, they handle it themselves. The math I've shown you today, it's not sophisticated. It's arithmetic. The reason most people have never seen it laid out this clearly, it's not because it's a secret, it's because the people who benefit from your confusion have no financial incentive to give you clarity. You deserve the clarity. I want to spend a few minutes making this personal because the math I've shown you only matters if you can apply it to your own life. And I want to make that as simple as absolutely possible. Here's a 5-step process that you can do tonight. No special tools, no financial software you have to download, no advisor. Step 1, go to ssa.gov. Get your 3 benefit estimates. 62 at your full retirement age, 66 or 67, and at age 70. Get a piece of paper, write them down on that paper, real paper. This will make it come to life for you. Step 2, apply the 4% rule to whatever you have saved. Take your total retirement savings, your 401k, your IRA, any brokerage accounts that you might have, add them all together and divide by 25. That gives you your annual income from savings. Now, divide that by 12, and what do you get? You get your monthly amount. Step 3, add those two numbers together. Your Social Security benefit at whatever age you're planning on claiming, and your monthly savings income. That's your baseline retirement income with what? 0 part-time work, 0 other income sources. Step 4, Write down your honest, now be truthful here. Write down your honest monthly expenses. Don't be overly optimistic. Let's be honest. Housing, food, healthcare, transportation, and throw in the good stuff. Travel, the grandchildren, hobbies. Don't shortchange the good stuff. That's what you're retiring for. Step 5, subtract your expenses from your income. What you have left is your retirement number. If that number is positive, you're in better shape than you probably thought. If that number is a small gap, call it a few $100s, one modest income source closes it entirely. Now, if that number is a larger gap, that gap is not a verdict. It's a starting point. It's an engineering problem. And engineering problems have solutions. And when you're done, you're going to now know what your real retirement number is. Not an estimate, not a benchmark, your number. I want to leave you with something that most retirement content never gives you. Not a warning, not another number to worry about, not a to-do list. Let me give you a picture. The retirement I've described today, $2,500 a month, it's not a retirement of deprivation. In Knoxville, Tennessee, it's a 3-bedroom home with a paid-off mortgage, dinner out twice a week, a reliable car, and enough left over every month to help your grandkids with something that matters to them. Over in Tucson, Arizona, it's a retirement community with a pool, mornings at your own pace, and a social life richer than anything you had during your working years. How about Ohio? Small town Ohio. It's a house you love, a garden, and 30 years of Saturdays that belong entirely to you. The people living those retirements right now, they do not all have $1.5 million. Most of them understood one thing with great clarity. Social Security, it's not a supplement, it's the foundation. And everything else, the savings, the part-time income, the smart decisions about when and where is built on top of it. You're closer than you think. The math says so. If this video shifted how you think about your retirement, even just slightly, I want to ask you to do one thing. Think of one person in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a friend who is in the same window, 55 to 65, quietly worried about retirement. Send them this video. Not because I need the views, because the math I showed you today is math they have probably never seen laid out this simply. And they deserve to see it.